Yeah, I'd retire at the end of the year if I had to do that every week for sure. So,
Joe Gibbs has watched Denny Hamlin climb out of racing cars for 20 years. After the Iowa Corn 350 on August 9, 2026, the team owner said something he had never said before. "I've never seen Denny that exhausted," Gibbs said. "I think he drove his heart out. The driver had just completed 350 laps on a .875-mile oval with almost no brake pedal, starting from the very back of the field and finishing fifth. And at 45 years old, with a retirement date already circled on the calendar, that performance may have answered the exact question Denny Hamlin has been avoiding all season. To understand what that drive actually cost him, you have to go back to Saturday, because the weekend fell apart long before the green flag. Denny Hamlin made 2 runs in practice at Iowa Speedway. In both of them, the brake pedal went straight to the floor and every bit of brake pressure disappeared. His second run lasted 3 laps. The brakes failed after the second one. When he was asked whether the team could fix the problem overnight, his answer left no room for interpretation. "Certainly can't race like it currently is for sure," Hamlin said. "The location of this failure matters enormously. At most tracks on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule, brakes are used mainly on pit road and are a secondary concern. At a short track measuring 0.875 miles, they are not optional equipment. Drivers use the brakes to settle the car on corner entry and to make it rotate through the middle of the turn. Without them, a driver is guessing where the car will end up every single time he turns the wheel." Hamlin explained the limitation directly. "You can't get into the corners deep, and you can't race," he said. He then added the line that summed up the whole problem, "obviously. You've got to have both pedals on a short track." He also lost the practice time he needed to prepare for Sunday. Hamlin said the first 5 laps felt fine, that the car had decent speed, and that the balance was better than it had been at Iowa Speedway in previous years. Then it started fading, and he never got any further information. He qualified 29th. For the driver leading the NASCAR Cup Series point standings, that result was poor but survivable. And Hamlin was not the only competitor having a difficult Saturday. Chase Elliott wrecked during practice. Brad Keselowski backed his car into the fence during qualifying. Here is the part of this story that received far less attention than it deserved. This was not a Denny Hamlin problem, and it was not a single broken part on a single car. It was a Toyota problem across 2 organizations. Chase Briscoe, driving the number 19 car for Joe Gibbs Racing, hit the same wall during Saturdays on track sessions. Riley Herbst, driving the number 35 car, hit it as well. All 3 2311 racing entries dealt with brake concerns at varying levels of severity. Hamlin listed the affected cars himself. "Yeah, I don't know what the rule is on brakes and safety and stuff like that, but us, the 19 and the 35, none of us had any brakes," he said. Chase Briscoe's situation was the most severe of the group. Crew Chief James Small revealed that the brake pads on the number 19 Toyota had been essentially destroyed during Saturday's running. That leads to the rules problem that made this weekend so difficult to escape. Under NASCAR rules, teams cannot simply install new brake pads when the old ones wear out. The brake supplier, PFC Brakes, has to determine that there is a defective product and then notify NASCAR. That had not happened before Sunday's race. Teams were permitted to bleed their brakes before the green flag, and beyond that, their options were extremely limited. So where did the failures come from? According to motorsport.com, the brake issue stemmed from setup choices made within the Joe Gibbs Racing and 2311 Racing Technical Alliance as those teams searched for additional speed ahead of the NASCAR playoffs. That is the central fact of this entire weekend. The 2 organizations went looking for extra performance before the postseason. And the search produced a brake failure that spread across multiple cars. This was a self-created problem, not bad luck. Within the affected group, Tyler Reddick reportedly appeared to be in the best position entering Sunday's race, while Riley Herbst faced the biggest concern once the race began. Bubba Wallace's team was believed to be cautiously optimistic that it could still race competitively. The outcome for Tyler Reddick was the harshest of all. 4 laps into the race, the rear of his car slid entering turn 1, and he ran into Eric Jones before hitting the wall. He finished last in the 36 car field. Reddick did not point at the equipment. A 100% that was on me, Reddick said. Just gut-wrenching on a lot of levels. He accepted responsibility, and the brake context should not be used to overwrite his own explanation. The wider trend is still striking. Tyler Reddick won the first 3 races of the season and 4 of the first 6, and he has 5 victories in total, but he has now finished 30th or worse 4 times in the last 6 races. Sunday morning made Denny Hamlin's position significantly worse. Less than an hour before the start, Joe Gibbs Racing replaced the cooling unit on the number 11 car in an attempt to prevent further mechanical trouble. NASCAR rules require any car making that type of adjustment after qualifying to start at the rear of the field. His qualifying result was thrown out. He started 35th. Crew Chief Chris Gale was openly uncertain about whether the repair would even work. He described it as 50-50 whether the adjustment would both get the car to the finish and allow it to remain competitive. Hamlin was not the only driver sent to the back for unapproved adjustments. NASCAR announced that the number 6 car of Brad Keselowski and the number 9 car of Chase Elliott would also start from the rear. Judged on its own, the decision to change that cooling unit looks damaging because it cost the points leader his starting position. Judged against the alternative, it was almost certainly the correct call, because a second mechanical failure during a 350-lap race would have ended his afternoon entirely. Chris Gale deserves credit for accepting a guaranteed penalty in order to avoid a possible retirement from the race, and the result that followed was a team result, which is exactly how Denny Hamlin described it afterward. From 35th, Hamlin worked his way to 6th by the end of Stage 2. He finished 5th. He did that across 350 laps on a short track while still fighting brake problems during the race itself. His description of the experience was consistent every time he gave it. "I just had white knuckles every lap," Hamlin said, adding that he did not know where his car was going to land when he got into the corner. He also said that he had to run that way for the entire event, and his summary was blunt: "You gotta do what you gotta do." His assessment of the day was unqualified. "The team did an amazing job," he said. "I would take that day 100 out of 100 times." According to Essentially Sports, when he was asked how hard the car was to drive in that condition. Hamlin said he retired at the end of the year trying to do that. This was not a victory. It was a 5th-place finish. It is also the kind of drive that gets cited in a Hall of Fame case because it was produced by a car that should not have been capable of it. And that is precisely where the problem begins. Denny Hamlin has given the public a clear test for his own decline, and he described it during the post-race show at Michigan International Speedway earlier this season. "You lose your eyesight, you lose your reaction, and your body hurts," he said. His own reading of that test is specific. The body pain has already arrived, and he is not recovering as quickly during the week between races. The eyesight and the reaction time, he says, are still sharp. "I want to go out like this," Hamlin said. The surrounding facts support his caution. He is 45 years old and the oldest full-time driver in the NASCAR Cup Series. He has 64 career victories, which gives him sole possession of 9th place on the all-time wins list. The next position, 8th, belongs to Dale Earnhardt and his 76 wins, and Hamlin has said openly that he is not going to reach it. His reasoning was that if he wins one more and holds 9th alone, the following jump is out of range, so he questioned what he was still doing. His contract with Joe Gibbs Racing runs through 2027, and he has repeatedly described it as his last. He has also named the drivers whose careers he does not want to copy. Jimmy Johnson won 3 times in the 2017 season following his 7th championship, then failed to win again across the final 95 races of his full-time career. Richard Petty and Darrell Waltrip both went winless in their final 8 NASCAR Cup Series seasons, and Waltrip had to buy his way into a race at Charlotte Motor Speedway after failing to qualify on speed. Richard Petty's own admission is the most direct warning available. "The longer we run, the slower I got," Petty said, adding that he should have recognized it in time to stop. Hamlin has said the same thing about himself in advance. "I'm planning for the downfall that I know will come. The replacement is already in place." Brent Crews, who is 18 years old and currently competing as a rookie in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series for Joe Gibbs Racing, is expected to be ready by the end of 2027, and Hamlin's timeline was built around that readiness. Joe Gibbs Racing is still trying to change his mind. Co-owner Heather Gibbs said the team joked with him that he was a spring chicken with many years left, and then explained where that left the organization. "Now we're trying to think of how we can keep him longer," she said. Her position was that at the rate he is producing results, an extension is not something the team would rule out, and she identified the real obstacle plainly, saying it is hard when you dangle checkered flags in front of him. She also acknowledged that Hamlin co-owns 2311 Racing with Michael Jordan and wants to run that operation. Hamlin's answer to all of it has been the same instruction: check back with him in 6 months. He said that in June. Iowa Speedway was in August. He has stated that his goal has always been to win his final race and that he wants to at least remain capable of winning it. "My ego is very paranoid of the downtrend," he said. "A day in which a 45-year-old driver completes 350 laps without a functioning brake pedal and climbs out looking destroyed is not evidence that he should continue. It is evidence for the exit he already scheduled." The race itself belonged to Ty Gibbs. The 23-year-old driver won by 253 seconds over his Joe Gibbs Racing teammate Christopher Bell, taking the second victory of his career and his second of 2026. The decisive moment came with 60 laps remaining when both drivers pitted. Christopher Bell took 4 tires, Ty Gibbs took 2 right-side tires and came out ahead. Crew chief Tyler Allen said practice had shown that the left sides were not wearing much and would refire acceptably, which made the 2-tire call a viable option. Gibbs had already survived a problem on his first stop when the jack fell too early during the tire change and dropped him to 28th. "You're kind of hosed after that deal," Gibbs said. On the strategy call itself, he was equally direct: "I can't do anything about it, so you just run with it." The win moved him to second in the standings, 103 points behind Denny Hamlin and 7 points ahead of Ryan Blaney. Christopher Bell finished second for the 7th time this season, and 4 of those have come in the last 5 weeks. He led 108 laps at Iowa Speedway and has not won a race in 2026 after winning 4 in 2025. "This is what you call a bad second-place finish, for sure," Bell said before crediting the winner. "Ty did a really good job. This was also the debut weekend for NASCAR's new stage break procedure. If a caution occurs with 10 or fewer laps remaining in Stage 1 or Stage 2. The stage is now deemed complete at the moment of caution, and that same caution period serves as the scheduled stage break. The rule was created after the Brickyard 400 on July 26, where the field spent roughly 14 minutes under yellow, got 1 lap of green flag racing, then went back under caution for another 14 minutes. And later ran 3 laps under yellow before pacing through a 21-minute stage break. That amounted to nearly 50 minutes of caution in a crown jewel event. NASCAR Chief Executive Officer Steve O'Donnell announced the change with a simple explanation: "We heard you, we want to make a change." He also admitted its limits, saying it's not going to be perfect. The notable reaction came from Denny Hamlin, who has been the sport's loudest critic of long caution periods. Instead of attacking the delay, he defended it. "It's hard to think of everything," Hamlin said, explaining that with any rule change, you never know what the cause and effect will be. He compared the fix to the shot clock in basketball, which exists to keep the game moving, and said the change would be better for green flag racing even if it only applies a handful of times. Next is the Cookout 400 at Richmond Raceway on Saturday, August 15th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on the USA Network. And the NASCAR Cup Series now races every weekend until a champion is crowned in November. The driver to watch there is Austin Dillon, who sits 27th in points but has won the last 2 races at Richmond Raceway and led 107 laps in the 2025 event. Denny Hamlin arrives leading the championship by 103 points with 3 races left in the regular season. So the question is genuinely open. Should Joe Gibbs Racing keep pushing for 2028, or did Iowa Speedway already give Denny Hamlin his answer? Both cases are defensible, and the comment section is the right place to argue them.